Hi, I'm Amy Chesery, author and illustrator of The Coloring Book of Shadows, and I recorded this video live on Facebook, so it is raw and unscripted, and I may sound like I'm talking to myself or saying hi to people who aren't there or answering random questions, but hopefully it gives you some inspiration and ideas on how to color your own magical stuff. Hey! So I've been meaning to do a live video, and I wanted to do it today, and then someone asked a fabulous question, which was how to do moons. And the cool thing is I'd actually been working on the less detailed version of how to do a moon, sort of just like the general shading. And I also, when I designed these pages, I was wondering if the moon was going to be challenging. So I'm glad you brought it up. I think your name might be pronounced Mish, who asked it. But whoever you are, thank you. And I'll show you how to do maybe just some basic things that hopefully will be helpful. But so this was what I was working on, and it's kind of the old trick of just how to color a sphere with different lighting. And I'll just show you this really quick. But this middle one, my little arrow. So, let's do this one first. So the arrow means like the light is pointing from that direction. So you can see it's lighter up here, and then the darker shadow on the opposite side of the moon. And then this one would be like you're shining a flashlight at it. So the light's right in the middle. And then this one I haven't done yet. So I'll do this one really quick, and then I'll show you more how to do the detail on a bigger moon like this. So there's been a couple really good examples in the group. I was just looking through quite a few actually. Amanda, Steph, and Patty all had similar looks to them, and I think it's a way I can describe, so I'll show you that in a second. But for this basic, like if you want to do the straight on moon, this is kind of exactly, if you've taken the free coloring class that I posted a few days ago, it's the same technique. It's darker on the edge, and then you blend out to the white. Leave a white space in the middle if you can, or a lighter space if not white. If you want to go more intense with color, that's fine. Just do a lighter color in the middle. Make sure you leave that highlight, and that makes it look round because the darker stuff is either away or shadowy. So and then this one, okay, so say we have a sun or a light that's shining in this direction of this arrow. So the highlight is going to be right where the arrow is shining, and you just have to kind of imagine it in your head, and the shadow is always going to be opposite the light. So another thing I've been doing, which has been really helpful, is and really cute, because it ends up looking like this, like the candle is shining on the bottle. That looks cute, right? So that's just adding a bit of yellow. So just to block out where my highlight is, you could use yellow or any color that's really light. Just like scribble, that's where the light, the brightest light is gonna be, just so you have something to see. And it looks cool because it looks like a yellow glow, but you could do any glow. So that's your brightest. And then another thing to just keep in mind is the shadow is always going to be the farthest or opposite of the light. So with moons, it's like just a curve. Moons are any sphere, anything that's like kind of rounded. So see how I'm really just like, this is like a diagonal. If there was a diagonal line across it, I'm kind of just doing a backward C shape. It's nothing fancy, right? But you can already see it adds some shape. I'm watching Alice in Wonderland. I have it on quiet because it's just better, but just in case you were wondering what's on Disney Plus. So with just a little bit, you can see the shape of the moon start to come together. So that's if you want it to be lit like a quarter moon, kind of. Sorry, my little light source went flying. But you see what I mean? It's more like a crescent moon, right? So there's different highlights and shadows. This is maybe your beginner's moon. If you just do this straight on light source, it's easier. Here's my cauldrons that I was practicing too. This is from the left light. This is like a straight on. And then this one's also from straight on. Okay, so I hope that makes sense for how to do that kind of shading. So for the detail of the moon, I looked at a couple in the group, and what seemed to be similar to make it, to me, realistic was using these curves as like, okay, let's take a crater is easier, right? Because it's a dip, like one round crater. When things are farther away, so like it's dipped in like a crater, it's a little darker around the edges because the edges of the crater shadow itself. So you can start just by picking out the craters, because we know that's like a known, right? We know what that is. I have a nice light blue. I thought that'd be cool. But you could pick any color. I would say like if it's your first moon, do a light to medium color. The darker colors are going to be more shadowy and maybe a little more difficult. So I'd pick like a light to medium color. But this is like the exact same thing that we do in the free coloring class. Is kind of go darker around the edge and then blend it out to white in the middle. So you could go all the way blue too. Why I think this works is if you were looking at the moon, sometimes it's hard to color and talk at the same time. Okay, whoa. The reason the inside is white a little bit inside this crater is because the edges of this crater itself create the shadow. Like if you were to look at a cliff, it would sort of shadow itself from the light. And then as it flattens out in the middle, there's enough space where the light sort of picks up again. I hope that makes sense. But I think it works to the eye to say crater. So, okay, so we have one. Let's do a couple more craters and then I'll show you what I think is working with the lines that are not like a full circle, the squigglies. That's what you're dying to know, huh? What to do with the squigglies. Oh, hi, Steph. Do you say your name, Steph? I seem to always get it wrong. I have different names for you guys in your head than what your actual names are. No, just kidding. But I've definitely got some pronunciations wrong. Okay, so that's a crater. Steph, you had an awesome moon example. That's one to look up, or just go through all the pictures and see which ones look the most realistic to you. Okay. So in the examples I saw, so like this next line here is not a full circle. In fact, it goes up here and then it kind of turns into another line, right? So like, what do you do with that? But what I would do is like break it up, like say it was a circle, at least the part we know, right? Say this is a crater inside. There's another cliff here. Like this is the very top part of the moon, and then it steps down and then it steps down again. Because when you're farther away, it gets shadowy. So like if that was a circle, even like a wonky shaped circle, it shadows itself because it's a cliff, so it gets deeper and the light shines and there's kind of a dark spot around the cliff. So just start to put in the things you know, like think about how it might fall. And then a little darker shadow. I got it right. It's Steph. Yay. Good. Yeah, someone asked about moons. I haven't approved the post yet, but I was like, that's exactly what I should do. How to do a moon. I was just doing it, as I mentioned. Okay. So, yeah, so you kind of look, and then this whole part here would be, this is like a big crater in my eye. So just keep going a little bit. Like here's another, like that's part of a circle, right? So you could go extra dark around here. Like if you do one part really dark, it'll look deeper, like a deeper crater. Thanks for watching. If you're watching, hello. I want to do this like once a week. I haven't had a setup. I have a little nook up in the loft now. I have to climb up a ladder to get here. It's actually kind of Harry Potter. But it's cool. Okay. So this is say this is a crater, even though there's no line going across here. say this is this thing, this wing coming up here is a plateau, and around it is a crater. I just sort of, the same technique in the free class is dark around the edge and then blend it out to white. So can you see how this is sort of looking moonish? Here, let's do this part up here just to help visualize a whole section I'm jumping around. So like I'm outlining, this is like full pencil pressure up here. Because that's a cliff going into a crater. I keep forgetting what that word is. Crater. Crater. A big old, this is like a big old indentation. And then this is like a, to me that's this here is another plateau, and then here's a crater. So do the same thing. It's my hand in the way. Hope that makes sense. Okay. So I'm doing this. Oh, I should do the glow of the candle. I'm trying to like get in the habit of doing the steps right, but even if you don't, that's fine. I want to make my candle glow a little. This was another trick that was in the free class. If you haven't taken it yet, it's pretty cool. I hope you've been, I think people have been enjoying it. So thank you if you watched that. I hope you like it. I'm going to do more. I want to do these videos, and I have some other courses that are planned. Fun stuff. I love learning things, but only if it's fun. Okay, so I'm doing a really quick glow. This is just like the lightest pencil pressure I could possibly do as I ramble. Hi, Bella. Okay. Cool. Yeah, so that looks pretty good. If I may say so myself. All right, so then we'll just keep going. Maybe I'll do like one edge. So this, I mean, nothing's right or wrong. It's really how you interpret the drawing. But the way I see it here, this whole thing coming up here is a plateau. And then here's another cliff on this side. Oh, I should do these little craters. Here, I'll do these really quick. So craters, just full pencil pressure around the edge and then blend it in. And if you make these like darker, they'll look deeper. So you can play with that. You can even add like another blue to go like way darker. I really like a saturated look, but some of the demos, I keep them a little lighter because it just takes less time. Like if you want really saturated color, Vanessa is a colorer who, and Steph both do really saturated stuff. It's a cool look. It just takes longer. You got to keep going. So if you, a lighter look is quicker, but anyway, okay, so this is another cliff, just the same thing. Darker on the edge. And then blend it out. And then around, like down here and around, you know, like you can base it off a light source, but you're really making it up and it doesn't have to be right. You can just kind of go for what also looks good just to your eye, like squint at it a little bit. This is actually looking pretty good. I'll stay up towards the top. I color like real random, like I don't really go on in it. I don't really do things in a logical order. Some of you more organized Virgos and whatnot have probably noticed that about me, maybe not, but I do things a little random. Okay, that looks good. And then just keep going. I mean, maybe this could be even a little bit more dark here, a little darker cliff. However you want to do this. Let's see. I'm looking at Patty's right now and it's pretty cool. She has this as another crater. And then once I get some of the craters in and whatnot, like, I'll show you what I would do to the whole moon. Like, kind of give shading to the whole thing. So if you missed, I don't know if you missed the first part or not, but I showed you like just these real quick basic ideas on how to shade a moon. But they didn't go into the details of the craters and whatnot, which is like a whole different level of complication here. But really cool, right? I mean, because it's kind of one system, and then if you apply it to the whole piece, no matter how complicated the shape is, you can get it to look cool. So let's see here. We'll do this area a little bit better. I'm going to leave it pretty light around the candle. Just to keep it easy. And just because it's, I don't know, the candle wouldn't actually be lighting up. See, that's another, like, the candle wouldn't actually be lighting up the moon in real life. But the way it diffuses the light or adds light around your eye, it kind of looks like it is, right? So part of this is looking at how light hits objects, and part of it is just making it up as you go along. Don't get hung up on the mechanics of light, and just try to follow a system at first until you start to see how things work. Okay, so following the system, like imagining that this is a crater and that this is a crater. This is a pretty good one. This is a good one up here too. Let's see. So if it's a crater, you go around the edge, and you could do these the opposite way too. I mean, that's where sort of your own eye, just like looking back and squinting at it is a really good thing to do, and imagining how it might look if you did a certain part. I do that a lot. So once you have a hard line around the edge of the crater, then just kind of blend it out a little bit. And then Patty's, she did a really good job on this one here. It was like a big shadowy piece. Am I still on the camera? Sorry. I think I am. It's hard to do all the things at once. Like talking and coloring. Okay. So see how like just a little bit of dark edge made that look like it's recessed. Like this part up here that's white is higher up. It's a plateau, and then it goes into a crater. And that's just by adding a little bit of color around the edge. Like even that's a pretty hard pencil pressure. And then blending it out to white, just like in the class. Yeah, so when you can break it down like that, it's a little less overwhelming, because if you just repeat the same thing kind of for the different, learn how to do it for more complicated shapes, it can help. Or just color it flat. I'll tell you, my biggest worry about doing a coloring class was that I don't want to tell anyone what to do or how to do it. Because I don't like being told what to do at all. But I love to do art classes, and I like suggestions and things like that. You know, I love learning new things. But anyway, so color however you like. But if you want to try something new, try this. So that's a crater. And then this looks it's a little harsh line here. So you can see, okay, let's see. Oh, that's interesting. I'm looking at Patty. Thank you so much. Patty has been coloring for a really long time. And if you look through some of her stuff, there's some really cool techniques. She watches a lot of videos on them. So what she did here is really interesting. She did this one. She did like 3 layers. So like if you were imagining 3 steps, the top one would be the highest, and then the next one would go down, then the next one would go down. So that's how she did this part of the moon, which turned out really good. So imagine like this part under the candle it's obviously the closest to you, but say topography wise, it's the highest elevation, and then there's a step down to here, and like a plateau, and then a step down into that crater. So by just doing this side of it, it kind of gives that look. See, I didn't do this side. I just did the right side of each line, and it makes it look like steps. So it's pretty cool. Cool. Let's see. I'll just leave that and do like this. Follow the same pattern. Yeah, and if you're not sure what to do, like just stop for a minute and look at it and get a plan before you continue. Like say, wait, what am I coloring and why? But I'm going to see how I did this as a crater. I'm going to continue that line a little bit. So it's the same, like that's a crater. Here's like a thin plateau. I think that's looking pretty cool. Okay, one more crater up here. And then if you just do the crater like that, like you don't do this top part, you just do this little part, it looks like the light's hitting it from up there. Which is cool, but I think I'm going to shade it a little more all the way around so it's more of like a straight on look. And then I'm going to do the whole moon with a little bit. Yes, I am. Okay, so as I showed you in this example, if you're shining a flashlight like right directly at it is what that is. And so this part of the moon is closest to you and it's white-ish in the middle. It's lighter in the middle. And then the edge is the darkest because it's farthest away from you and the light is hitting it straight on. And these other ones, it's hitting it from this direction and from that direction. So in this one, I'm going to do like this, but just very subtly. So we did all this nice detail in the middle. And you could take this deeper. You could make it way more shadowy, but I'm just going to leave it. All you have to do is just keep deepening the shadows and blending it out to whatever your lightest color is. My lightest color here is white, but you could color the whole thing. It's up to you. Okay, so we did all this nice. I'm going to add that over the top to give the whole thing a little bit of a glow. So it's just the same thing. And we'll do these little spots too. But the same thing. So basically the same thing as in the free class and the same thing I've been doing. Make a dark edge and blend it out. Like I don't want to lose all the nice detail I just put in the edge, so I'm going to keep it subtle. And then you can always darken, which is the fun part, I think. Going back to add all the shadows is my favorite part. Oh, I have 3 candles. Why didn't somebody say something? I was like, I'll do the candle glow, and I did one. It's okay. I think sometimes I leave out weird things like that, and I'm sure there's someone watching that's annoyed, but sorry. Okay, so do these candles really quick. All of them. And so this candle would be lighting up this wax. This is like my new trick for everything. Just color over it with the glow, so then you can put that in later and you already have this cool highlight on it and it'll look like you did something really fancy, but really you just did a little trick. Okay, so I'm going to put in my glows for all the candles. All right, now back to my moon. And this area probably needs a little more blue. And I'll color those pine needles or whatever they are later. Wintergreen. Okay. So I'm just doing, like, this is full pencil pressure. See, it's a line, it's like a line and everything. I'm not being fancy. I'm just coloring a line all the way around. I'll stop right there just to blend it out. But then I'm just going to blend it out like a little bit to white and just fuzz out that line. Cool. So that's subtle, but I think it's looking pretty good. Yeah, and I don't want to do too much around the edge because it looked pretty good without any around the edge. But I had to go in and add some. But that's cool. So you could just, you don't have to do this part. You could just leave it at the craters if you like, or you could do more like this Like once you do the, well, yeah, you could do that. But anyway, I would just suggest like this version for just to keep it simple. Because if you had it lit up from a different direction, the craters would probably be lit up a little different. So this is more like a straight on. Don't listen to me. Going off. Okay. So yeah, I don't want to lose too much of the detail that I already put in, but so I'll just go back. The nice thing about coloring is you could go back and make it darker. That usually fixes it. Usually it looks a little funky in the middle because you're just not finished. You have to keep going. Some of these little craters. Okay. Cool. All right, so now just the little last bit around the edge. Ta-da! I think that looks pretty awesome. So now usually it's a good time to like stand up and squint at it. Oh yeah, that looks pretty cool. Look at it from a distance, like at least a couple feet. Like when you get real close in and you're just focusing on the details, it's hard to see the whole thing. So like stand up and check it out. And if you had like dark, like if you had done this whole thing blue, I left a lot of white. But if you had done the whole thing and the shadows weren't deep enough yet, you just have to go back and like add more. Usually it's just a matter of deepening the shadows. It seems scary, but you just got to go in there with a little darker color for them to stand out. Cool. So like this area here, I think this could be a darker shadow. And I'm standing up right now. Well, I was sitting down, but I'm standing up to just to color more from a distance. Looks awesome. This is my favorite song. It'll trip a copyright infringement thing though if it's too loud, so. It's The Flowers, Golden Afternoon from Alice in Wonderland, if you can't hear it. Okay. Okay, so now I'm just like looking at it from a distance and like anything that my eye sees is that's weird or like then I say, okay, so why does that look funny? This area was too white and now it looks funny because that one lost its definition. And then I think this area looks too white. So like I'm pressing, you can probably almost not even see it. I'm pressing as light as possible. But just to give that like a little more color in there, it looked fine. But, and I have my pencil at an angle. I don't know if I said that enough in the class, but it really helps to like keep it light that way and not leave lines. You just have to keep going. It takes just a little bit more time to get some color on there, but there we go. That looks pretty cool. So what next? Does anything else look funny to me? Meh. Something over here is like, not quite sure, but like this part needs to be just slightly blue. I don't know. It was probably fine the way it was, but you can just always go back and add more detail to it or contrast or whatever. When it's at this really light stage, you can erase, like if you've only done one with a white eraser, You can, when it's like real light, but once you start putting on heavier, like full pressure pencil, you can't erase it all. You can lighten it maybe a little, but it's always going to be there. But you can use it for like, if you're like, oh, that's too dark, and like wanted to fuzz out some of that very lightest stuff, it works pretty good. Okay, that's probably, no, not okay. I always find like a little more I want to do. Cool. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I think it's a good looking moon. And that's only one way to do it. I mean, you could totally do it totally different, but I think that's probably, hopefully, like a repeatable way with some tips on how to handle all the craters and the lines. You can try it just like this. This pencil, I used the Crayola light blue and then yellow. And that's the moon. So I hope that was helpful. I want to do more of these. Now that I got a little set up, my goal is to do like one thing a week, and we'll do coloring. So I hope that was fun. If you color a moon, post it. We want to see. All right. Have a good day.